All right, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about my thoughts on increasing the gearing on this thing, going from this factory 14 tooth to a 15 tooth on the CB300. So if you're doing like say a lot of highway and such, open road basically, it's fine. But if you're doing a lot of twisties, back road twisties, riding in the mountains, the canyons, or if you're doing a lot of urban, stop and go, the 1tooth tire up front it's too tall. It really is too tall. It's better to leave it as the as a stock gearing up front. Now if they had made, say for example, the rear sprocket, which is I think it's a 36, I believe, back here, if they made like a 1 tooth less, then that would be the better way to go. It's just a little bit taller, and I think it would be perfect. But as it is, this, at least at this point in time, because this model is still pretty new, no one, as far as I could tell, so far I've looked, no one has made a rear sprocket for this that's a different size from the factory size of 36. So every sprocket I've seen so far is 36. There's no whatever other size, because this sprocket is different from the CB300R. It's different from the CB300F and the CBR's 300. All those other 300 models, they all use the same rear sprocket size, and this one is different. This one, the bolt pattern is actually smaller. I think that's part of their weight reduction, was making everything smaller and such. So anyway, so again, nobody makes any other size besides the stock size. So you can't do nothing with the rear. As far as the front goes, you could, again, on mine I increased 1 tooth on this one, and it was just it was too tall. It's I just came back from a couple weeks ago. I came back from a 3,300 miles round trip down to Cabo, down in Mexico. So well over 3,000 miles, 3,300 miles, and that was okay, because it was mostly straight for the most part. Not too many twisties. It's, for the most part, it's an open road, so it was fine. But the last few rides after I got home, and I just got back from a like a 50-mile ride, I think. And in the twisties, and the gearing, the 1 tooth taller gearing, is just way too tall. It's like it takes forever to rev up, and it's like it's not it doesn't work very well. So I'm gonna go back to the factory gearing for this, for everyday stuff. If I was, say, using this bike as a travel bike, I would leave it as a taller gearing. It would be okay. But I think ideally, what would be good is either have 1 teeth up front, add 1 teeth up front, and in the back add 2 teeth, or leave the front at the stock teeth, and the back take off 1 teeth. So which is the same, taking off 1 teeth in the back is the same as adding 1 in the front and adding 2 in the back. More or less, pretty close to each other, very close to each other. So that's my thought on the gearing. Other thing also, where this bike is a little bit different from Honda's other 300 models, is that the tire size on this one is it's a different tire size. Let's see, where's the tire size on here? The tire size on here is 150/60, right? 150/60, 17. So that size is it's a little bit wider, 150. All the other models of the Honda 300s, it's only 140. I believe the height is actually more than this. It's 140/70. So this one is 150/60. So this one is wider, but in diameter wise, it's actually smaller in diameter. Whereas the other ones, it's a little bit narrower, but it's a little bit bigger in diameter. So those other ones, those other models, other 300 models, are actually geared taller because of that. Because if you look at their gearing on the teeth here, it's the same. It's it's the same front and rear. It's the same teeth on all the 300 models. It's just this one, the back wheel is slightly smaller. So in that sense, it makes it a little bit shorter. I'm not sure about the internals in the actual transmission itself. I don't know what the actual internals are, but if I were to guess, I would probably say they're the same as all the other 300s. So basically, overall, this model is probably slightly shorter in gearing because of the smaller diameter rear tire. And if I can remember right, and when I did the math on that, on those two different size tires, I think the diameter was about, I think it was 9 millimeters, if I could recall. Was it 9 millimeters in radius? So the difference of 9 millimeter radius. So 9 millimeters is what? Let's see, 12 and a half is 12 and a half is about half an inch. So 9 millimeters is like what is that? Like 3/8 or something like that. So it's a little bit, it's a little bit taller. The other bikes are a little bit taller, where this one's a little bit shorter. So that's why I say, this bike would be better if it was either one teeth in the front, adding one teeth in the front and adding two teeth in the back, or leaving the front the same and taking away one teeth in the back. That would be pretty good. What I plan on doing is, once my rear tire wears out, this tire wears out, I'm actually going to put in the other size, just like all the other 300s, the 140/70. So it's going to be a little bit bigger in diameter. So that's going to give it a little bit taller. Why I go back to the stock size front. So that way it's slightly a little bit taller, and I want it to be slightly a bit taller, but not so tall like it is right now, where it just sucks for riding in the twisties in the mountains. Yes, it's geared way too tall, and it's when you final, and this, because this is a final drive gearing right here. When you do the more you increase the final drive gearing, the slower it is to rev up. So in that regards, it doesn't ride very sporty in the twisties, in the slow tight twisties, like it did before I did this gearing change. Let's see what else. So I think that's it with this bike. So my previous 300, because you look at my videos, you notice that I also, a few years ago, I had the CB300F, the previous model of this. And with that one, I also changed the gearing as well. And what I did with that one was that I actually added one up front. And I can't remember if I added two in the back or added one in the back. I forget. It's been a few years. If you look back in the videos, you might see it, but I'm too lazy to look back into that. But anyways, I definitely want to have slightly taller than stock, but not as tall as it is right now. So I'm gonna wait until this rear tire wears out before I go back into the front sprocket and put the original size sprocket back in, the original tooth. And I'm pretty close to wearing out the back tires anyways. Probably, let me see, I think I have 3,500 miles, or 30, let's see, what is it, 30, geez, that's a lot there, 3780, almost 3,800. So probably by the time I get 4,000 miles or so, or just over 4,000 miles, it will, my back tire will be pretty much worn out. And you can see, and I showed this tire after I came back from Cabo. I did a little review of that trip, and right here's the wear knob right here, wear indicator, and it's right there. There's not much left, versus over here there's a lot of life left over here, but right here it's, because this is all flat. Again, that trip was over 3,300 miles, mostly just straight road, so that's why it's so flattened out. Yeah, let's see what else with the gearing. think that's about it. So far, I've been able to keep that same chain. That's what I want. Keeping the same length. I don't necessarily like to add or remove links. But on my 300F, when I added one and added 1 or 2 in the back, I did have to make it 1 link longer, if I can remember correctly. But with this one, just adding 1 link here, all I need to do was move the axle forward a little bit, and it was good. And you look at where my axle is, it's still, it's still pretty centered. It's actually further back center than it is back center than it is center. So it's still plenty of space to move that thing back and forth. So yeah, I think that's it. Okay, so that's a pretty long talk right there about gearing on this thing. All right, thanks for watching.